Hi, and welcome back to the Cookie Chat, where it's just some basic bakers letting loose and keeping it real. I am one of your hosts, Miss Melissa. Chelsea's out again this week, but I am bringing back my amazing guest, Miss Abby Meisgates. If you did not already check out our part 1 of Enneagram exploration, I invite you to pause, click on the link that'll be up here, and go watch that part 1, because part 2, we are diving in even deeper. So please welcome back my amazing guest, Abby Meisgates. Hello.
Hello. Hey guys. Thank you guys so much for having me back. This is
Of
so fun.
course. We are just so excited. I know by this point, everybody is just fully invested in all of the Enneagram. So
Yes.
really quickly, uh, again, Abby Meisgates is owner of both an amazing wedding venue in Texas called Margot Hill, and also co-owner of Enneagram in Business. So
Mhm.
this is Miss Abby. And again, Abby, could you take us through, very high
Yes.
level, the 9 Enneagram types, just to recenter us before we dive deeper?
Yes. Okay. So remember, it's 1 through 9 on that little cultish looking symbol. Okay. So we'll start with the one. The ones are our perfectionists, but they don't like being called that. So they prefer reformer. So they are principled, purposeful, self controlled, perfectionistic. That's one. Number 2, we've got a lot of 2s in the house. Those are our
Yes.
helpers, and they are caring. They're all about relationships, generous, tend to be people pleasers, guilty. And those are our helpers, number 2s. Number 3s are the achievers or the performers. They are success oriented, pragmatic, excelling, super driven, but also can tend to be image conscious. Those are our 3s. Our 4s are our individualists. And I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but they also can be known as the romantics. So they tend
Ooh.
to be sensitive, artistic, a little bit more withdrawn, expressive, at times a bit dramatic, and temperamental. And they love to work in beautiful spaces. So those are our 4s. Our 5s are the investigators or the observers. They are really the cerebral types. They're super introverted, perceptive, innovative. They are totally fine being isolated, but they just hoard knowledge. They love
Mhm.
research and figuring out all the. They usually have like a niche interest, and then they dive deep into that.
Yep.
So, yeah. The 6s, there's a lot of 6s in this group too.
There
Um,
sure are.
Suzanne Stabile estimates, I think I mentioned this last week, that half of the population are 6s, and that's what keeps the rest of us alive. So the 6s are the loyalists. They are committed. They do tend to do worst case scenarios. So they're always making sure everybody is safe and okay.
Mhm.
Super responsible and really like a team player. Like they're really great at team culture. So those are our 6s.
Great.
Our 7s are the enthusiast and the adventurer. The 7 is like who all of us want to be because they live carefree. Every day is a snow day to them. They're fun loving, really energetic, very extroverted, very
Mhm.
spontaneous. They're kind of scatterbrained at times, but they're like the fun people. You want those
Yes.
people at your parties. Yes,
Yes.
those are our 7s. The 8s are the challengers, but they can also be seen as the protectors because they love to take the underrepresented under their wing and stick up for them. Like if you have an 8 in their corner, in your corner, they will fight to the death for you. They are powerful, dominating, extremely decisive, very self-assured, and they can be confrontational. Like they
Mhm.
don't have emotions about confrontation like a lot of us
Mhm.
do. So, and then the opposite is our 9s, the peacemakers. They are like permanently chill, easygoing, receptive. They never want to rock the boat. They are agreeable. They hate conflict. They can tend to be complacent just because they don't want to be affected by life. So they never want to rock the boat. They are excellent mediators, excellent, excellent, and so good at just relationships with people, and they're great listeners because they just want
Yes.
to keep that harmony.
Yes. And
Yeah.
again, guys, a lot of these, and it can take time to explore all of these and understand
Hmm.
truly who you are. A lot of them, you can think that I know ones and eights, a lot of times it can be hard to figure out which one you are, or even sevens and nines, a lot of times it can be
Hmm.
kind of both. But there are defining factors that will help you
Hmm.
identify those. And we do have a quiz linked in our old one, or I'm
Hmm.
sorry, in our part one, and I will link it again here.
Yeah.
But it is a particular quiz that we recommend. We don't recommend all of the quizzes, but this is one
Hmm.
that's actually by one of the godfathers of Enneagram exploration. So this is
Yeah.
one we support. It's a good starting place, as Abby mentioned.
Yeah.
Um, so those, and then two other things I want to just hit on really quickly again. Abby, how is this different from other personality tests? So if they
Yes.
have done the, oh gosh,
Myers-Briggs,
yes.
those. Yes.
Yes. What's the
Yeah.
key
So this
defining
one,
differentiation?
I would say there's two really big differentiators. The first would be that this is motivation based,
Mhm.
not behavior based. So when you're going through, if you decide to take the quiz, make sure you're digging deep, and figuring out like, okay, I took that job, or I took offense to that because of this. So look like one level deeper past your reaction into your motivation for that
Mhm.
reaction.
Mhm.
So that is one big deterrent. And then the other one I would say is it does point out your blind spots, because we don't like to say weaknesses.
Yeah.
But I think it's really helpful when you are self aware about areas in your life where you have potential for growth.
Mhm.
And then it's also beneficial, in my opinion, to learn about the other eight, if you're one of them, the other eight Enneagram types, because more than likely you have them in your family, in your business, in your friend group. And
Yeah.
if you understand kind of where their weaknesses are, you might have more compassion and grace for them,
Yes.
if they paralyze or if they fly off the handle, because you kind of understand at a deeper level what is motivating that reaction.
Yes.
So,
Yes. And then the last piece I wanted to touch on too is you generally are going to identify as a number. You will have
mhm.
one wing that is to
Yes.
either side of you.
Yes. Gotta
So
be our neighbors.
explore those. You can't be a one wing five.
7.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't do that. So you're going to have a neighbor right next to you. And then also in times of stress, you
Mhm.
will see the arrow going away from your number on the diagram, and you
Mhm.
will identify with traits of
Mhm.
that number that it's pointing to when you are in times of stress. So for
Yes.
cookiers, it is holiday time, or if you are overbooked, or if sets aren't working, or you're creatively blocked, those moments of stress, you are going to see some of those numbers, and then,
Yes.
or traits of those numbers. And then in times of growth, maybe like when you've had a bit of a cookie sabbatical, or like time
Mhm.
away, or you're just thriving in the growth of your business, then you will see those positive attributes of the arrow that's pointing to your number. So that's what that
Yes.
means as you are looking at those diagrams.
Yes. And I
Okay.
did want to mention, the reason I think a lot of people get confused on the wings is because when you take the test, it's going to rank like your percentage of, you might have scored highest on 3 and second
Mhm.
highest on 9. That doesn't mean that you're a 6 or a 3 wing 9. It just means that you also have a lot of characteristics of the 9, even though you're a
Mhm.
3.
Which is the
So
stress of the three,
yes.
correct? Yeah.
And so that's when you start digging deeper, it's actually kind of fascinating, because most likely your top 3 numbers are either going to be a wing or an area of growth or stress. Like they're
Yeah.
probably going to all be connected somehow.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, so guys, that is our quick recap. Again, you can go back to part one or go back and take the quiz and come back to us, because now I want to dive deeper into the whole reason that Chelsea and I really wanted to share Enneagram and explore this with you all
Mhm.
is, Abby, how does understanding all of this help us in our business, particularly when so many of us are the only person in our business?
Mhm. Yes.
How can this help?
Yeah, so I think, before Margot Hill, I was working freelance marketing. So I was in my office at my house working for myself, but I did have clients, and all of you guys have clients as well. And so for me, it was good for me. You're not supposed to diagnose others,
Right.
but you will be able to pick up characteristics of who you're working with and who you're dealing with. And you might be able to communicate with them in a more positive way, in a way that they can receive feedback better or not. So
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, it really helped me um, better communicate with my existing clients, specifically if there were problems.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gave me compassion for people. I was able to almost put up a barrier instead of taking everything so very personally. I was able to pause and then maybe figure out what was going on behind the scenes in that individual. And it helped me sort of separate personal Abby and then business Abby.
Yes.
And so I think that's really important, is to have that separation. Of course, your brand and your baby is your identity, but it's not who you are as a human being. And
Yes.
so just learning how to have those boundaries, which is hard when you're the only employee and you work for yourself,
Yeah.
but just knowing who you are at your core as Abby or Melissa, and then who Missy P is and who Margot Hill is and all of that. So just I think it has helped me develop compassion for others,
Mm-hmm.
also compassion for myself on my weaknesses. And then it's just helped me grow. I'm able to get along with a variety of personality types. I think I mentioned this last week. There used to be certain personality types that intimidated me or
Yeah.
scared me. And now it's almost like I can come to the table and I have like my lens on of like, I know that they are this person. And so when they come at me very aggressively or whatever, I'm not going to take it personally, because that's literally
Yes.
just how they were made. And so that has helped me big time.
Absolutely. And this is one of the things that I love so much about this is it, just like you're saying, it doesn't make you take things personally. And
Hmm.
no matter what Enneagram number you are in this world that we're talking about of bakers, this is a creative
Hmm.
thing for us. This is, we
Hmm.
call them our babies. Like when we create
Yes.
these things, they come from our heart. This is why so many
Hmm.
artists I know who are like visual artists, they can't even have their own artwork in their home because they see it and they'll just continue to like, it's never done.
Yes.
And you
I've
just,
heard that.
yeah, and you love it so much. And so I think that piece already innately makes us a little more sensitive
Hmm.
about this. But I know we're going to go through scenarios here, but I do want to throw
Yeah.
one at you
Yes.
that just came to
Please.
mind as we're talking about dealing with customers, for instance.
Hmm.
I have a repeat customer, and she is phenomenally talented in visual aspects. She is also an artist. She is a visual artist. And so I work with her on creating art for her art. And she sees things very, very, very particularly. And for me, a
Uh-huh.
lot of times the way that I work is just freedom. Give me
Right.
inspiration. And then, because if you box me in, I get in my own head. I'm a 3. And so
Hmm.
I want to do it perfectly.
Right.
I want to
The
please
best.
you. Yes. So if you're throwing a ton of like very specific ideas along the way, and I'm also very calculated in my to-do lists and my timing. Like if you
Hmm.
throw something at me last minute, it's gonna like throw me off because I need to be
Yes.
calculated in what I'm doing. And
Yes.
so when I'm getting all of these details of information and very specifically about what you're wanting, for me, it makes me feel like that person doesn't trust me to do
Yes.
it.
Yes.
And what I have learned, and again, I don't know her number, but
Right.
I'm kind of thinking she's probably in the 1-ish
That's what
spectrum.
my gut was. Yeah.
Yeah, hold on. I have a little sidekick here with me today.
Hi, precious. She even has her headphones on. Look at
She
that.
does.
She's so
Are you
cute.
okay?
Can you turn the fan on?
I will turn the fan on. Yes, it is hot. So in knowing that, so in my head, even if she's not a 1, this is where I'm going.
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm going to, in my head, say that she's a 1, because this is
Mhm.
going to help me get
Yes.
out of my head and stop all of these blockers that it's putting in front
Mhm.
of me and say, okay, she's a 1.
Mhm.
She sees things a very specific way.
Yes.
And for her, that's what makes sense. But
Yes.
I have to trust when she says, but I trust you and just do whatever.
Mhm.
That's what I'm going to go with. And so
Yes.
that for me is what I latch on to. Is that, like, how would you say we should be thinking about those things if you have a 1 customer?
Yeah, so the girl that teaches Enneagram and business with me is a 1.
Okay.
So just so you know, 1s love blunt feedback. They
Uh-huh.
love for you to shoot them straight and to be direct. So my
Which is so
opinion,
uncomfortable for
I
me
know,
as a 3, because
I
I'm like,
know.
I'll say whatever for you to, like, be yay,
Exactly.
happy.
Yes. But then my friend Medea that does this with me, she's like, stop the sugar coating, like get to the point, you know? So
Mhm.
I think for her setting up boundaries of like, hey, can you send me one email, one,
Mhm.
with all your inspiration? And so that you're not getting messages like every day, right?
Yeah.
Can you send me one email instead of so that it would be better for me, I
Yes.
always make it about me. It would be
Yes.
better for me if you sent me one email with all your inspiration picks.
Mhm.
And I know that you trust me with that inspiration. And
Uh-huh.
so I would do better if we just did it over one email and then I can take it all in and create something perfect, you know?
Yeah.
And then also the fact that she told you, I trust you. At the end of the day, I trust you. 1s do not say that unless they mean it. So just know that's not a test. That's not an empty compliment. That
Uh-huh.
is, Melissa, I've seen your skills at work. This is the direction I see it going. But at the end of
Yes.
the day, I'm going to trust you. And she means
Yes.
that. It's very, very hard for 1s to delegate, though. In general, they love to do everything
Mhm.
themselves. But
Mhm.
she might be an artist, but not on cookies, right? So
Mhm.
that's out of her wheelhouse. So she's having to delegate it to you. And
Yes.
so at the end of the day, she's viewing you as the expert in the cookie world.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. And
Yeah.
and again, it's just something where I've learned to not take these things personally, because for
Right.
her, the delegating is not the distrust. It's just that
No.
is her personality. On the flip
Totally
side
her
of that, the
personality.
being aware, like how it can help us be self-aware in this business, particularly things like an 8.
Mhm.
So, if you are self-aware as an 8, it's so important to know as a business owner, when you are working with other people, especially customers who you are servicing,
Yes.
knowing how the blunt factor can be relayed, right? So, like,
Yes.
being
Like you need
self-aware
to
and knowing
dial it
when to
back.
pull back. Yeah,
Mhm.
because again, it's not that you're being mean or
No.
the B word.
That's just the energy that they were born with, right?
It is.
Yes.
And so it's just so not personal. So I love
I
this. And
know.
this leads me into the next phase of,
Yes.
I feel like it's so obvious, but how it helps in the home.
Yes. So I am married to someone that is basically the opposite of me.
Mhm.
And I think at the first few years of our marriage, it was very much like, why do you not see things like this?
Mhm.
And why do you see things like this? And instead of, you know, a jury saying you're guilty and you're innocent or you're right and you're wrong, we have now come to this understanding of like there is no right and wrong. There's just different. So
Mhm.
the way I approach the world, the way I have my to-do list and my priority list is different, and it doesn't mean that mine is right, even though I
Yeah.
think it is,
Yeah.
and his is wrong. It's just the way he operates. And so
Mhm.
I'll just give an example. For example, he he feels like sometimes I micromanage him because I have my to-do list and I'm a 3 and I thrive on efficiency.
Mhm.
Let's get those bad boys like crossed off that list.
Yep.
Well, that translates to him as you don't trust me. I'm going to get to it in my time and you're micromanaging me.
And he's a 9, correct?
And he's a 9.
Okay.
Yes. So what we have communicated about now is the best way is if I have my to-do list for him to give me a frame of time. Like, yes, I will have that done by Friday. So
Mhm.
that's our middle ground, right? Like that's our compromise of it's going to get done, but I'm not going to ask you about it 3 times a day
Right.
because but you've given me the timeline, right? So
Yes.
you've told me it will get done on Friday or
Yes.
by Friday. And so I think just really, if you have a spouse or a child, I would really encourage you to read those chapters or read podcasts or listen to podcasts
Uh-huh.
about that number so that you can kind of get inside their head and figure out, okay, so if I need them to behave this way, like what does that mean?
Mhm.
Especially with kids, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're going to discipline, 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 and that's going to shut them down, then maybe you do like what a 3 would want. And if you do this, you get a treat, like
Yes.
Django the
Yeah.
carrot. And so just kind of learning, they always say like every kid that you parent is going to be different, right?
Yeah.
And so just kind of like leaning into their little souls and figuring out like what motivates them, what demotivates them, and
Mhm.
just kind of cater your interactions, tailor them to the child or to your
Yes.
spouse. So
Yes,
that's how it's helped
absolutely.
with us.
Yes, and just an example, particularly in this business, so I'm a 3 and my husband Mike is a 1. So
Mhm.
while you guys are opposite, 1s and 3s have a lot of commonalities and
Yes.
stubborn.
Yeah,
We can both be very stubborn
you're both
because
right.
yes, because in his mind, he's like, "Well, no, this is how it's supposed to work. This is the only
Mhm.
way and this is the right way and this is how it
Mhm.
goes."
Mhm.
And for 3s, we can very much have kind of like that checklist of like, "Well, I have a plan and this is how it makes sense in my mind," but there's some
Mhm.
variations of how that goes. So
Right.
for instance, for us, when it comes time to like holiday time, the
Mhm.
biggest thing for us has been, or even when I just started this business, because I was full-time stay-at-home mom, like that was it. And so then me starting this business on the side, it was them being used to a certain thing and then like, well, wait a second, now things are changing. So
Right.
what does that look like? And so I can't get over enough communication, communication,
Yes.
communication. And we
Yes.
always say that,
Yes.
but when it's related
Mhm.
to Enneagram, it makes it a step above. It's like
Mhm.
really dialed in communication. So what
Mhm.
was important for us with him as a 1 was, okay, so what are your parameters? So as we go through this, what's going to be helpful for you to feel validated, to still feel loved, to still feel like a partner in all of this? And so we kind of
Yes.
like laid
Yes.
out what are these parameters. And so I know like there are times like during the year that we will have friction. And I know it's because like, oh, because I went off of these parameters, like I'm not staying to
Uh-huh.
this. And we didn't have communication about maybe how these things have to change. So I
Mhm.
always, Chelsea and I both always say, like, when you're getting into pre-sale, let your family and friends know, hey guys, this is the period of time where I'm not going to be able to reach out to you as much. I'm not going to be able to go out to dinner as much. I'm not going to be able to do that thing as much.
Mhm.
But this is when it ends. And then, hey, I'm back in the game.
And
And
then I'm back.
so,
Yeah.
and then I'm back. And then I'm back.
Yeah.
So it just like helps you level up the communication and how to
Okay.
communicate when you're understanding theirs.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
it's
And not
just,
every number loves that communication.
yeah.
Mhm. So just know who you're working with. If
uh,
you're married to a 5, they don't really like to talk a lot. And so you've got to kind of like set a time and a duration of like, we're going to talk Wednesday night for 1 hour about this.
uh-huh.
And they can like gear up for it and come and be done after
Or
that.
send them an
So
email with all of the information.
Yes, so they can research and they
Yeah.
know, like, they don't like to be put on the spot, so
They
it's
will
like
be
they can
great
come
for
to the
helping you figure
table.
out they will be great for helping you figure out your pricing models, though.
100%.
That
They
they
will
can do.
research all
You
of
want a
that stuff.
5 for that.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
but they
well,
don't love that chit
we've
chat.
we've done a couple of scenarios, but as we said
Mhm,
before, number 2s and number 6s seem to be our very popular numbers in the cookie decorating world. So I want to take us through 2 scenarios
mhm.
before we wrap up. So if you
Okay.
are a 6, which again,
Mhm.
we know are ones who can tend to have a hard time making decisions because it's just they
They
want to
pull
make
everyone.
sure that they are doing the right thing.
Mhm,
So in the cookie world, a lot of times we talk about imposter syndrome,
mhm,
and that just kind of means like you're scrolling and it's such a gorgeous community on Instagram or any of the social media, and there's so many talented people in this community that a lot of
mhm,
times as you're seeing all these things, you're continuously like, oh gosh, like I'm not at that skill level, or they're growing faster than I am in this realm, and it just brings a lot of self doubt. So
mhm,
for the 6s, what would you recommend in ways to think about this or tools to
mhm.
help them not get into those imposter ruts?
So what's funny is it's actually the 3s that struggle more with comparison, but what you're explaining right now is a 6 under stress. So a
Oh,
6 goes to the unhealthy parts of a 3 under stress. And
uh-huh.
that is that whole comparison, I have to be the best, I they're doing more than I am, and it's very like competitive. But a 6 in their nature and in their core, they're a team player.
Yeah.
And so I would just come back to, even in the wedding industry, there are so many gorgeous venues out
Oh,
there.
yeah.
But we all have a unique story and a unique aesthetic to offer, right?
Mhm.
And so what I always recommend is just realizing there's plenty of room at the table for everyone.
Mhm.
There doesn't just have to be the top 10 cookie girls in the world. You
Right.
know, there's always going to be a need for cookies. There's always going to be a market for cookies. I'm preaching this to myself with weddings.
Yes.
People always getting married, people always throwing
Yes.
parties. And
Yes.
so just instead of sometimes for me, I just have to put my blinders on and focus on like, what am I good at? What do I have to offer? And then just become an expert at that and like own that instead of comparing. And then looking to others as like, that is so awesome that she can do that. And I think something that helps me, this isn't necessarily Enneagram related, but sewing into their business, sharing their pictures, commenting positively. I think that helps kind of change that inner narrative when you, as a 6, are so good at community and teamwork and cheering each other on and culture. So do that. Like comment on that account and like say, that is the prettiest cookie wedding dress I've ever seen in my whole life, and just building up the others in your community. And that's going to shift that energy of comparison into an energy of community. And everyone has a place at the table, and there's plenty of business for everyone to go around. So, does that
I
help?
love yes, absolutely. I love that so much. And I would say too, if you are a 6 and finding yourself in that imposter place, I would imagine too, because you are such a team player and you thrive off of that, is that you might be
Hmm.
feeling a little isolated because these are businesses that you're
Hmm.
running just on your own. So maybe look
Yes.
at finding a cookie swap group, or doing something, joining one of our lives that we do, just like ways to make
Exactly.
yourself feel more in the community and in that group.
In the team.
Mhm,
Yes, that's great
mhm.
feedback. Yeah,
I would
join
love that.
the Facebook groups or the
Yes,
podcast. Yes.
yes,
To know
yeah.
you're not
Hit
you're
us
not
up
in
on
it alone.
Instagram, the cookie chat.
Yes, go follow them.
Okay, so our other one is the 2s. So the helpers, and just willing to bend over backwards, and that's what fulfills them, right? But
Mhm.
in the world of being a business owner, how do you still kind of stand your ground and set your guidelines so that you are not even like maybe not even thinking that you're getting bulldozed, but at the end of the day, like not making profit because you're just giving away or not standing your ground?
Yes. So the wonderful thing about twos is you do have access to the eight, which might shock you. But if you think of a two in crisis, in stress, they can sometimes pop off or get sassy real quick. My mom's a two. So it's like they're normally sweet, 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 but they do have access to that eight. And so I would dig in to the healthy parts of the eight, into that personality where you can kind of give yourself like a self talk, like, I am worthy. I am deserving of making a profit. And I need to make money to support my family, or even better phrase, I need to make money so I can help others, or I can help my
Love
family, or I can
that.
help our situation. And so
Yes.
trying to find that motivation is, I'm not being mean by standing up for myself. I'm actually standing up for myself so that I can be helpful to others or to my family or whatever your cookie business supports. The thing about twos is y'all always put yourself last on your priority list. And I think your huge area for growth is taking time for yourselves. Otherwise, you're going to become bitter and resentful because you're going to be so poured out into others that you have an empty tank and you don't have anything pouring back into yourself. So, as a two, make time for yourself. Lean into that healthy eight of like, boundaries are a good thing. Pricing what you're worth, a good thing. And that not only helps you personally, but it helps your family and your people that are more important than a rogue customer.
I love that. I love that. And I
Yeah.
would say too, so I am a wing too. And
Yes.
I do feel myself, I was so excited once I found this medium where I was like, wait, I can give back to people with this medium.
Yes.
Like anytime that there's
Yes.
a charity fair or something like that. And so one moment.
Yeah, you're good.
So mom life
I
never
know.
quits, never quits over.
Never quit.
Okay, so but what I found was, and my husband as a one helped me like find the ground here. He's like, well, but you can't. You have to make money. It's like if you're going to spend the
Right.
time doing this, you have to make money too. And so I
Mhm.
found a happy medium where I have certain causes that I love. I oftentimes will do things related to NICU or IVF or child loss,
Mhm.
and I found those avenues of when I see something, then I will reach out and see if I can do something for that. But I've learned that I have to do it cautiously and carefully
Mhm.
and not just
Mhm.
give all of my resources to that.
Yes. Yes.
Similarly to the cookie chat. I mean, we do so much of this work for free and we love
Mhm.
it, but we do also have to find ways of like, okay, well, we're doing this. What are additional things, merchandise or things like that? Because we
Yes.
do have to make it into an actual business, you know?
Right. Absolutely. And
So
I think for twos, it helps to buy time. A lot of twos, and I'm a three with some too, but instead of saying yes or no on the spot, which normally we feel like we have to give an answer right now, have your canned answer of, let me talk to my husband about that and I'll get back to you. Or let me check my calendar and I'll get back to you. Or, but just something that will buy you time so you don't have to just flat out say no to someone on the spot, but you're able to not commit in that moment, but it gives you time to follow back with them later. And then you can figure out what you want to say. But if you can have that, like Logan always says, he's happy to be the scapegoat. Like, say you have to check with me, or say you have to check the calendar. So, just having that canned answer so that when you are approached by some of these people or these nonprofits or whatever, and they're genuinely wanting to help you, but you can't help everyone. So just having that canned answer that you could just whip out and you're like, this is what I say in these scenarios.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. And I've definitely grown into that. But
Yes.
it's so true. It's so true.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I think it's important too as parents to like be able to be escaped. My parents always used to say that. They're like, if you don't want to do something, blame it on us. Tell them
Oh,
that you're not
totally.
allowed to.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry, guys.
That work from home mom
The
life.
iPad
I love it.
babysitter ran out of battery, so somebody's a
Oh,
little
this
antsy over here.
happens.
But with that, Abby,
Yes.
thank you so much for helping us explore the Enneagram. And
Yes.
I'm going to start exploring what this kid is, so I can,
Yes.
help. But thank you so much. And I know Chelsea couldn't be here with us, but she will be live and active on Instagram talking about Enneagram because we both love it. But
Oh,
thank you so much,
awesome.
Abby. I hope we can have you back
Yes.
again sometime to
I
talk
loved it. And
Enneagram.
if anyone has questions or anything like that, definitely comment and I'd be happy to answer them.
Yes, guys, make sure to comment, subscribe, turn your notifications on so you don't miss an episode. Again, I'm Melissa with Missy P Sweets. May your cakes never be dry and your icing be shiny and crater free. Thanks,
All
guys.
right.